Hey everybody, it's Christina Holloway here. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to talk about what emotional resilience looks like, how you can start building habits to use it, and why it's a good exercise to use when you happen to take things personally at work. And I'm going to do this by asking you 3 simple questions. Real quick, if you enjoy this content and want to learn more about how to make power moves in your career, make sure to follow my channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video from me. All right, so let's get started. Number 1, what's causing you stress at work and how do you handle it? At the core of emotional resilience is how we handle stress. One time I went to the doctor and I was complaining about aches and pains, and he asked me questions about my work. And he looked at me point blank and asked, "Do you internalize stress?" And that blew me away. It wasn't until that moment that I realized I was trying to act like a calm and stoic person at work, but because I wasn't dealing with the stress effectively, that stress needed to go somewhere. When I internalized it, it started to show up physically. For me, it meant I was avoiding dealing with the more difficult aspects of my work, which included having tough conversations with people, specifically about expectations and accountability. I just really didn't want to get into it with people who knew better every freaking time. So, obviously, the first step here is going to be about self-awareness. Take time to understand your emotional responses to different situations. Understand what situations and specifically remarks could trigger a response in you that erupts out of you. That's going to be the big one. Once you figure out the underlying cause of your stress, seriously sit with it and accept it. Be okay with acknowledging that something specific causes you to behave in a way that you'd like to change. There are plenty of things that make me want to act irrational. The thing about emotional maturity is that there's a point where your life becomes easier when you leave some of that behind. Once you acknowledge it, you'll be ready to make that change. From there, consider how to develop healthy coping strategies. The issue here is that the people around you could always trigger a response from you because they don't know what sets you off. Once you understand the why behind what's making you reactive instead of responsive, you can take the power of those remarks away. Eventually, you can get to a point where your bigger response is, "Oh, that person's just egging me on or feeding my broken ego, but I'm above that at this point." And then respond accordingly. Work on your communication statements that help you sail through those moments to take you to a better place emotionally. And then take the time to think of a solution to the situation. Word to the wise, this is hard work and requires a lot of self-awareness to navigate these situations and come out in a different place, a healthier place. Number 2, how do you adapt to changes at work? This is another way that emotional resilience is going to help you navigate a fast-paced work environment. If the situations and projects at work are constantly moving, changing, and reorganizing, and you really struggle with those types of changes, especially if they're disruptive and happen all the time, then there's a possibility you could start taking those changes personally. Why does this always happen to me? The other leads don't need to deal with this as much as I do. If I wasn't always assigned these problematic projects, I wouldn't have to deal with this so much. What's at the core of this one? You don't have control of the ship. If rapid change at work starts to make you seasick, I'm liking this nautical theme, so I'm going to stick with it, then you're going to need to figure out how to reframe these changes as opportunities. You're going to need to do that. It's not optional. In fact, people who are in jobs where they can't handle the fast pace or the constant changes are really not suited for that job. That's not bad. It just means that your strengths lie elsewhere. Now, if you like the environment, but you're just struggling to adapt at how fast things change, then start developing a problem-solving mindset. To add predictability to your day, come up with a framework that you can use each time things change. This allows you to approach changing conditions on your terms with the tools you've developed to solve the problem. Make sure your goals are realistic and check in with the team leads to ensure that your tactics aren't slowing things down. This method is not intended to slow the environment around you. It's intended to create stability and a sense of ownership for you when things get hectic. Number 3, how do you deal with ambiguity and uncertainty? Here are some popular statements I hear regularly. I can't get anyone to return my calls. No one seems to know what's going on here. How am I supposed to be successful here if I can't get the right support to do my job? If you feel like you're being left out to dry, then take a pause. At the core of this question is how much we've tapped into our emotional intelligence. What does that look like? Well, you're either flying off the handle whenever something goes wrong, blaming others for your problems, and accusing random people of trying to undermine you, or you realize that you can think those things, but you're a better person because you don't actually act out that way. Emotional intelligence is really just about knowing what causes you to feel vulnerable in certain situations and responding, not reacting, in a thoughtful, well-considered way. You can lean on empathy. I hear what you're saying and I want to be helpful. Self-regulating your emotions. I know they've changed the deadline for the 30th time, but this isn't anything I can't handle. And effective communication techniques. Bob, you and I both know this isn't my favorite problem to deal with. Let's come up with something together that works for us both. Also, remember this. Dealing with ambiguity and uncertainty are advanced leadership skills. If you've been thrown into these situations regularly, it's possible you have the ability to handle these situations well, and someone else in leadership can see that. Keep moving forward and make sure you have a supportive group of people on the team that you can rely on to encourage you during difficult times. Peer support goes a long way in helping you test your theories about how certain situations may or may not be personal. It's really helpful. All right, so that's it for my video on how to develop emotional resilience and stop taking things personally at work. If you used any of these tools or even some of your own tools to build resilience at work, feel free to share your experiences below. I would love to hear about it. And if you enjoyed watching this video and you found it helpful, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up by hitting that like button and make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you never miss another video from me. Don't forget to check out my Executive Presence playlist. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.